Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mindful Session. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of the show, and thank you for joining us. My name is Unisa Kamara. I'm the host of the show, and I have the pleasure of this young man joining me.
Hi everyone, my name's Dave Sleet, and as always, I'll be your co-host.
It's always a pleasure to have David on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, today we just want to have a chat, two gentlemen chat,
Yeah,
getting to know each other.
this is something that, we've talked about the idea that how men don't really kind of talk about anything other than sport.
Sports,
And alcohol and generic topics. Yet every week we've spoken about how important it is to get
To
past
connect.
what we think about and talk about how people feel about topics, situations that they're dealing with.
yeah.
So, what a great way for us to connect with the audience out there and let people know that these conversations can happen. You can just talk about how we feel about different things and
At the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all,
speak for yourself. Some of us are superhumans.
well, I don't know. Robin.
You sure as hell ain't Batman.
I'm Batman. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to do that again on a close-up.
No. Don't let him have a close-up so he can do.
Please,
the
shall
I'm
we have a
Batman.
close-up?
No, come on. I don't feel that that's the right thing to
Can we have a close-up, please, of me? I feel as I need to do this properly.
No, not happening.
Close-up?
No, Christian Bale says no.
I think
No.
our
Thanks,
engineer...
Christian. No, Christian says no. So, but you see,
Well,
how
you know, it's
feel
good to
at that
laugh.
moment. You
Oh,
see-
there we go.
Don't do it.
I'm Batman.
I'm sorry, Christian. All right, I'm sorry. I did everything I could to avoid it.
But the essence of this is that it's good for men to connect, to laugh at each other. There's nothing wrong with the connection, with bonding with each other.
And I think over the last sort of decade or so, the connection that men would have had previously has been shaped and given a frame that isn't necessary to be there. You can have banter with colleagues, with friends, with male associates, with male friends. That is not kind of the thing that you would talk about in public. But it doesn't mean that that's a bad connection, because you wouldn't have that conversation in public. And a lot of people get the sense of, well, I can't talk about that with that friend because they might be offended. We can't do this, we can't do that. And as soon as you start putting those restrictions on people, you start breaking down
No, but you
connections.
see, also, I do tend to understand when sometimes people say, I cannot talk to this person about this. I cannot talk to that person about this. You understand?
Yeah.
So the essence of all of it is it depends on the connection.
Yeah.
And like you said, we set limitation.
Yeah.
So by you feeling as though there has to be a boundary, but again, depending on who that friend is.
Yeah. And every
It's
conversation.
not everyone we're going to connect with.
No, of course. And every time, every show we've done almost, we talk about making sure that it's the feeling that somebody's had, the self-awareness, the understanding of those connections, that makes the biggest difference. And you look at, from the time you and I first met to where we are now, that has been a steady progress of development, friendship, connection, of banter, of having laughs and jokes with each other, as much as it is about having the show. And when we having those conversations that you wouldn't even put in the bloopers sometimes.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, wait till you see the bloopers behind the scene. David, you know, the whole essence of us is that, yes, we clown a lot, we do joke a lot, but when it comes to time to be professionals, we maintain that professionalism.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have that fun. You know, if somebody meets you the first time, they'll be like, "Oh, David, you know, he's a clown. He's this. He's always laughing." But when David is ready, the actual essence of intelligence is there. So,
That's very kind of you to say.
and I just want you to pay me after the
I'm
show.
not paying the $5. I'm sorry.
You have to pay that.
Listen, but the essence of today's show is really to show that a friendship doesn't have to have the boundaries that you would put on out in public. You can have those connections, and gents that are out there talking to each other about what you're feeling about a situation can make all the difference, and it can put brakes on a downward spiral that no other connection can do.
I spoke to, when we had Gary Turner on the show, and we spoke about vulnerability. It's okay for a man to open up. You understand? Society has this hold on us that we now feel as though, well, we have to go with what society says. It's okay to be you. You don't have to always expect to follow, oh, this is the norm. This is how it has to be. Don't think out the box. Be out the box. You are who you are.
Yeah.
You came in this world, you know, to live your life, your legacy. So if you sit there and say, oh, I have to follow the rules and regulations of everything, which indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying do anything extreme, but live your life.
And coming to terms and increasing the self-awareness of who you are as an individual makes it so much easier to do that. The struggle of human development from a baby through a toddler, through a child, through a young adult, into adulthood. We're learning all the time. We're learning
That's
about
life.
ourselves. And we cannot impose the lessons that we've gained at the stage that we're at now on someone that is still learning their own self-awareness. Because they haven't got to that point yet. So we've got to let people grow.
Go through the process.
And not penalise somebody when they haven't learned something that we already have. And we see it with male interaction all the time, where you have one generation that will chastise a younger generation because it hasn't learned what the older generation has learned. And guys, give yourselves a break. You know, you haven't got all of those skills yet. You haven't learned how to put the shelves up straight sometimes. You know, whatever the skill set might be, there's a learning process that comes along that you have to go through in order to get those skills. And if you haven't got them yet, don't beat yourself up about it, but don't penalise somebody else that's still learning the skills that you have.
See, David, the way I look at it, it's simple. You're born, you learn as you grow. You understand? And you get, I'm not going to say perfect at your skill, but you get better and better and better at it. Now, you cannot ask a carpenter to be an engineer because that's not their focus, that's not their field. So the essence of what I'm trying to say is we are all good at something.
Being ourselves.
Keyword.
That is the master of destiny that we can all achieve. Being the master of ourselves, being the person that knows us better than anybody else. And when we have that, it's a lot easier to have the kind of connections and fun and communication that you and I have developed over the last, I don't know, year and
It's
almost
been
2
too
years.
long, David. It's been too long.
I mean, he had a full head of hair when I met him.
And David
I've
stressed
him
me out.
that much. It's all gone. I'm not, the greys that kind of adorn. I paid for these. I paid for every one of these
You
highlights.
earned those, right?
Yeah, those highlights I paid for with blood, sweat, and listening to you.
Wait a minute. That's a blooper right there. Yeah, but the thing is that we have to embrace what we have. You understand? And in my culture, they say gray hair brings wisdom.
Yeah. I see it, Miss Joel.
Well, some of us just refuse to age. But okay, let's go back to it. This is all fun, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why we decided to take a step back today from the norm, away from the table, just two gentlemen having a chat, is so that way, people can really understand the basis of where David and I stand. We're just true friends that like to have fun, support others. That is why the Mindful Session came about, trying to support each and every one of you to the best of our ability. It's not the fact that we just want to come and chit-chat all the time. The essence of having a platform is to be able to convey something, some information, something that is informative to help someone. So that is why. So let's start over, David.
Greetings.
I'm going to introduce me, and, and I'm going to talk about what I do, what my passion is. And my name is Junisa Camara. I am a motivational speaker. I'm a huge advocate for the youths. I believe in equality. I believe that perfection is a moving target. So we have, due to the fact that my son was killed on the 22nd of November, last year is going to come to a year today, we came up with Camaro Youths, which indeed the pain I was feeling at that time, thanks to David, thanks to Elizabeth Lucas, thanks to, there's so many people to thank that were just so supportive of me. Shewell, so many people that were just supportive of me. I was literally in a hole, and the pain I was going through, so we decided to form Camaro Youths, which it's a psychological program that support the youths, and also we feed them when they come to the program. So we felt as though these youths don't need to be on the street committing crimes or killing each other. So we want to create a safe haven for them. And right now, we're on hold due to everything that is going on. So that's my passion. I love being able to be on stage just to convey a message. And I love being around youths.
And the journey that you've been through from that point of grief to supporting and taking Camaro Youth to where it's got to now, where you have directors and ambassadors and engagement with young people in a way that...
This man has been too busy in my business, huh? You know about my directors and ambassadors? Yeah.
Beware. But you know, the journey that has taken in a short space of time, and I've seen you present, and I've seen you come away almost in tears, and I've seen you come away full of smiles, and those two extremes are now somewhere that is both comfortable for you but also growth for you.
That is so.
And that's something that, as a coach, watching somebody achieve that is phenomenally humbling, because you're part of that process. that supports somebody to achieve that comfortability in the moments of uncomfortable.
David, the thing is that I am grateful to you because I remember when I was presenting, I was on the mic talking, and I had tears coming down my eyes, and I think you were the only one that picked up on it. David came to me and said,
Oh, okay.
"Are you going to be a crybaby? You're going to keep crying? How you think your son is going to feel looking down on you saying, there goes crybaby again?" And he kind of put a smile on my face. So it's like anytime I kind of feel that emotion, I kind of think about, is David looking at me saying something slick again?
It wasn't so much it was saying something slick, and it can probably seem to people, okay, that's really harsh, you know, you're there, tears coming down, you want consoling. But to be able to take that emotion, hold it, and go, actually, I'm using this for the benefit of the message. I'm supporting other people by sharing this message. It empowers that message so much more when you can actually go, actually, do you know what? My son would be of an age where for him to see me performing that way, he would make fun of you. He would go, really? That's the moment you want to rep out, and
But you know what? It is true. He would make fun of me.
Yeah.
But I kiss my kids all the time to embarrass them.
And there is the key.
Payback.
There's the payback. That's the point where, when you're presenting, and it was the first time you'd done it, and let's not knock it. It was the first time you'd done it, and you let that emotion come to the fore. But it was also the first time where you were able to harness that emotion rather than let the emotion run away, and break you down for what you needed to do.
It was a hard time. It was a hard time. Well, this is what this chat is all about. You know, getting to really express yourself. So, David, please tell us about David.
Oh, God, here we go. Right, so the fast rundown. I am a qualified coach. I am managing director of A&A Psychological Accreditation.
Oh, wait a minute. So since we came in
Come
titles,
on,
I need
go
to
for it,
start saying
go for it.
my CEO status.
I was waiting for the CEO to be laid out now. I mean, come on, because I know how you feel when you get to ride that wave. And it is nice. It is enjoyable to be able to say, do you know what? I have achieved this with my company, and I can do it.
But I am proud of you, though, David.
Thank you.
Because I am going to let you talk, but let me just intercede for just 1 second. David is a type that I think I stay up all night, but when David is on a roll, he's actually on a roll. And I've read so many of David's paperwork, and it's just phenomenal. And even today, when we came to the studio, I had David write a letter that I was supposed to write. And
Delegation.
I did not delegate to you. Sat there and structured this, and I don't even doubt it. I'm not even going to proofread it. I'm just going to send it off.
Oh no, you need to proofread.
You know, but
Dyslexia is a curse. Come on, you need to proofread.
no, but David is quite intelligent. He's hardworking, and I remember when I met David and Vani in this little cozy restaurant.
Stokehouse.
Big
Out Stokehouse in.
And they're going to offer me alcohol, ladies and gentlemen. Bad.
Do you know what? That was a day of meetings that we didn't stop. I think the first meeting we had was at about 10 o'clock, and the last one was at about 7 o'clock in the evening. So
wow!
It was a fun day for us, yeah. And it was a brilliant day. And a lot came out of it. A lot of collaborations came out from that day, including ours. And you know, APA was formed in collaborations, and the idea of bringing together coaching and psychological therapeutic practice was something that a lot of people kind of went, no, these two things should be kept apart. But the feeling that Vonnie and I both had, And the Psychological Hive, which I'd already written at that time, kind of highlighted that it's the collaborations that grow the strength. And whether you are a successful company, whether you are an individual, those key elements are crucial to breaking any glass ceiling that you might face. And when Vonnie and I first met, the first kind of collaboration was the Psychological Hive. The idea of, here is a piece of work that had taken 22 years to produce, but it identified exactly how the most successful companies, the most successful people on the planet, were more aligned to therapeutic processes than they were to traditional business models. And when you have that kind of realization that there is some kind of secret that all of these most successful organizations have mastered, that the rest of us just don't kind of connect to, we end up with a situation where we can bring real collaborative power to bear. And this is what's happened with the work that Unisa and I do with APA, we have now, I think there's 10, 11 maybe collaboration partners that APA work with. And it's allowed us to go from strength to strength in just over a year.
That's why they say, one man can move a mountain, but with the team, the process.
You can move the world.
That is so. So I'm very proud of APA. APA just celebrated their 1-year birthday again, ladies and gentlemen, which indeed I was supposed to go and I got caught up somewhere else.
It's nice to know what's important.
I knew you would say that. I sincerely had all plans.
Yeah, no, we know. But the birthday event, 4th of July, just gone. We had a phenomenal.
And it's hard to ever forget the 4th of July because in America, the 4th of July is a big thing.
Yeah.
So APA's birthday falling on the 4th of July.
Yeah. I mean, we did kind of orchestrate it for that reason, because what we've done for the therapeutic sector is to deliver a degree of independence to professionals. And it made perfect sense that, for an organisation in the UK to almost take the 4th of July back and kind of go, do you know what? It's not just American Independence Day. This is independence for professionals that for decades have felt as though they don't have that degree of independence in their professional lives. So, that's kind of the thinking behind our 4th of July. But Unisa wanted me to kind of share with you some of who I am. You really wanted to go there. Okay. So, I was raised by parents that fostered children, and in just around 10 years they fostered over 90 children. And back then the arena of fostering was not as structured, was not as kind of, I want to say controlled, but it's the wrong word. It wasn't as stabilized as it is now. So for the family that fosters, there wasn't back then very much emotional or psychological awareness, let alone support.
Okay.
You're very much left to deal with whatever the situation was as best you could. And from the time I was kind of 5, going on 15, I was pretty much a bodyguard to kids that came through the household. And that put you, or certainly put me, in a situation where I would be in the playground. I would be the kind of barrier,
The protector.
and that kind of took its inevitable blows, and ultimately you end up learning how to deal with situations in different ways. By the time I was 18, I was getting ready to go into the military. I received a head injury in a street attack that meant I would never serve in uniform. I damaged the muscles over, or I didn't damage, they were damaged. The muscles over the top of the skull were damaged, damage to the back of my eye as a result. And in subsequent scans, because you don't really get brain scans kind of before an incident like that, but one of the things that was kind of muted was that my brain was sitting at 0 degrees within my skull.
Wow.
And it's not unknown, it's not uncommon even, but it gave my family an awful lot of ammunition to go, well, maybe this thing knocked some sense into you. But that's the banter that you have, and it's part of what becomes just, your resilience. You're able to cope with the fact that up until that moment, my life plan was pretty much set, and in a heartbeat, it was gone. So I got into the hospitality sector after, while I was still recovering, really, and I'd say recovering more psychologically than physically. The physical injury, as best as possible, was dealt with. But I spent a long time in that sector. I got into the training side, and that led me into coaching. And I am forever grateful for the coach that came over from the States to observe what I'd written for the training room in London, to tell me, you're not training these people, you're coaching them. And back in 2002, I had no idea that there was a difference. For all of the intelligence in the world, I didn't know that there was a difference between those two things until I went to the States and I saw coaching in action. And I came back from the States, I went and got qualified. I subsequently went through alternative companies and designed their training and induction programs, and then worked for myself. And I was very, very lucky to be able to work in the Middle East, to work in the US, to work across the UK, and support people right across the world.
Wow.
As a coach. And it gave me a huge amount of understanding of the differences that people bring to the table. More than any of the education around coaching, any of the education that I'd had in school, or anything that I'd had in preparation for military service. So when APA came into existence, bringing all of that experience together, combined with the phenomenal experience that Vonnie brings in the therapeutic sector, there is a collaboration that makes so much difference to so many people. And when you look at what we do now, and the support that goes out every single week, we're on the same path. And it's not necessarily at the same time, we are running alongside each other on the path. And just like, if we went out for a jog, one of us would be further in front of the other at some points, and then switch over. And that's very much where supporting friendships can be. One person doesn't have to be out front the whole time. They don't have to be behind the whole time. And when you look at the messages that come week on week on week with the mindful session, that essence flows through every single week. The self-awareness to be able to lead, but also to follow.
That is it. I know many of you are like, Wow, I just learned so much about David. Now, some of the things that David just shared with us, I was aware of, but some of them I was not aware of. And
No, I can't give you everything all the time.
that's what friendship is all about,
It's
sharing.
growing and learning and sharing as things come to the table. Nobody turns around and
Why
says,
can't you
hey,
just give
here's
the
my
whole-
biography,
Why-
just give you everything.
Oh.
It's like, come on, you got to get to know people.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I do have my book coming out. Before I even get into it, let me just say, David has done, right now, David is almost into the US with the government, into the UK government, NHS, their psychological. One thing that David did was, well, I always read a lot of, what you send me, but the psychological hive. I love it.
Thank you.
I love how it just falls into place. So if many of you have not read it, I would definitely recommend you go to the website. Is it APA?
ana.co.uk. So AYANAY.co.uk.
Please have a read. I promise you, you would not regret it. I'm not doing a commercial for APA, but I love it. And so I see now where you're coming from, the passion that you have, because growing up, in that environment, and then your injury, and working in this, sector, and then also now it's supposed to be training, but instead you're coaching. So I see how your
That
path has
progression.
been, structured, and how you grew as well.
And this is the thing. I mean, if life had not have taken that curveball at 18, I would probably have already retired from military service had I got through. There's no saying that I would have. I probably would be in a very different mindset as an individual. And I can only go on what's happened and the journey that life has given me. But I know how precious those moments are and how damaging a curveball can be if the support doesn't go in. And I struggled when that happened to me.
And you see, that's what I always say. Because of what we have been through, we don't want other people to go through it. Oh, well, they are going to go through it, but just to give them that sense of support that is going to be okay. So I think that is where we are in our life.
Yeah.
Because you've been through so much, and then your curveball came along, and it strengthened you, made you to be a better person. Yeah, you could have gone a different path, but I think you found your call and your purpose when your injury occurred.
I think when the injury occurred, it opened the door to my passion, but I still had to take the steps through it. However hard those steps were, I still had to make that choice of not letting that one moment destroy all of the lessons that had been there before. And that took a lot of work. It took a lot of support. It took a lot of family engagement. It took a lot of friends engagement. And I will frequently thank everyone that took part in that part of my journey, because I know how important their contribution has been to me. And when I say to someone else that is going through struggles, I cannot fix you. No therapist can fix you. But what a coach, what a therapist, what a mentor can do is give you the space, the time, and the skill sets for you to identify what you need, for you to fix you. And fix your mindset rather than the situation. The situation will change as your mindset changes. But as you develop the self-awareness, as you develop that understanding of how you're reacting to situations and the people around you, that automatically changes the overall outcome. And it gets you to a more balanced thinking. And when you look at what we've put together with the psychological hive, with what we've put together with the community learning hive within APA, everything is about reaching that point of balance.
You know, the reason why I went to school for psychology, the reason why I'm so fanatic about psychology is, like you said, our past make us who we are. This is all going to be in my book. I can now say it because you can Google all of this. Being young, the president at that time wanted to kill us. So imagine at night, as a young boy, you hearing gunshots. Imagine having to move from one house to the next, not knowing the family that you're going to. Imagine having to go from one country to just to get out from your own home. So I think as a child, hearing gunshots kind of played with me a little bit. Also being sexually abused by a family member, which they had trusted for us to be with. So I think being that I never opened up due to the fact that we were threatened, I was threatened by her, telling me if I report, my brother and I were going to be taken away again because I was tired of being moved around. So,
and you see how the abuser uses fear to hide themselves. And
at that point in time, it worked.
It does. And this is why victim blaming, why cloak shaming happens, because it's not to kind of protect you as the child, it's to protect them as the abuser.
And going through that at that time, like, you know, that is why when I hear of abuse, I take it so personal because I know what I went through. You understand? And a lot of people call me sometimes a late bloomer because of what I went through.
I'm waiting for the flowers to come out.
I was in avoidance of girls until high school in America. And, you know, everybody thought I was this bad boy. And when she said, come to my house, all my friends are like, yeah, go. Deep down, I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't want to go there. And she started kissing me. I couldn't wait to get out of there because the presence of what I was going through, the thought of it still lingered.
Yeah.
So even though I was in high school now, I was still going through that.
And that trauma is locked away until you can process it, understand it, and a lot of people will say, forgive. I would say it's when you can forgive yourself that what happened was not your fault, and you can let go of all of that victim shaming, all of that cloaking that was put up, that you didn't break through. Because as you get older, you go, well, I should have seen that that's what it was. No, you are a child. And those techniques and those tactics are used by abusers for the very reason that they are abusers.
Yeah, so, David, so when I went into college is when I actually start learning more. Like you just said, it's not you. You understand? And that is why I went so deep into it, into my book. You shouldn't. Ladies and gentlemen, I do understand we all have needs. But when you take that innocent child's virginity, you are hindering them for a long, long period of time. And sometimes psychologically, they end up becoming abusers as well. we as adults, we as human beings, need to break the cycle. We need to understand, let a child be a child. A child never forgets.
There is a lot of there's a lot of research that says if an abused child is not supported, if that trauma is not dealt with, that they can become abusive.
Of course.
And there is a lot of legal presentations that will use previous abuse as an excuse for new abuse. As in, when someone is then being charged with abusive behaviour, a defence lawyer can you fall back on, well, that's because they were abused as a child. Okay? The Dr. Vince Felitti, who was the doctor who researched and developed the concept of adverse childhood experiences. I don't believe that it was ever in his mind that ACE would be used as an excuse for someone who goes on to become an abuser of any kind of description.
Really?
It was a case of allowing professionals to understand what are the risks of not dealing with
the issue.
adverse childhood experiences. Understand what they are, understand what the connective damage is to a child, and do everything that we can as caring, supportive adults, as a caring, supportive environment to mitigate the impacts that those children have experienced. Now, there is, in my mind, two schools of thought. Someone that is abused will become an abuser, and those that won't. And professionals will argue a predisposition to one
But
or the other.
it's always a banter when it comes to a lot of issues.
Yeah. And this is where I think the principles of therapeutic process have to play out. When someone discloses that they have been abused historically, we fall back on the three key principles: empathy, congruence, and unconditional positive regard. You do not make a judgment on that individual that is disclosing. You are congruent about the current behaviours and the current presentations, and you are
Basically,
empathic.
that's the Mental Capacity Act.
Yeah.
You never judge. You take an individual for who they are,
Yeah.
and you try to work with them,
And
find
you-
a solution.
Yeah, but you have to have all three components in place. Otherwise, each component that you miss, you highlight the damage in the other components. So if, for example, you are not empathic to adverse childhood experiences because you have in your own mindset, well, you've been through that, so this is why that's happening. You count out any other experience that individual may have had in the intervening period. You count out absolutely every other component of that individual's life experience. If you go in with a preset, so you've had that, so that's what happens. Bang.
Yeah.
So we have to be mindful. And
See, also, that's what I always say, when you're going into a session with anyone, it's good to read their file. It's good to have a basis of who this person is. But don't go there with the pre-assumption.
Yeah.
Go there with a clear mind, a new slate, like this, a new sheet of paper.
Yeah. And this is the thing, is when somebody reaches out and they make a disclosure, that's what they're looking for. They've made that choice. New piece of paper, this is what I want people to know, this is what I want to move to, this is what I want to achieve. And you can then start working with somebody. But anybody that discloses should have professional therapeutic support in order to bring all of those things to bear. But when anybody hears a disclosure, the worst thing you can do is make a judgment about that person. That person is not what happened to them.
Right.
Whatever that trauma might be, they are not that trauma. And we have to let people grow. We started with this. The idea that the skill sets anybody has is based on the experiences that they've had. If they
And-
don't have those skills, don't be trying to put that judgment onto them.
Okay. Well, as we come to a show, this is quite an interesting conversation.
And
You know,
this was the point.
This
Let's
is
show that two guys
just having a chat,
can have a chat and it doesn't turn into,
a fight, a dispute, a banter.
I mean, come on.
Although you and I, we have to banter just to make it. But ladies and gentlemen, we thank you all for tuning in. David, is there anything you want to say before we come to an end?
Have a great week, guys. I hope just seeing us have the conversation and touch on some pretty hard topics and still be able to
Walk
to talk and work and have the fun gives you some hope that whatever it is that you're going through, you can reach out. There are people out here that do understand and are able to support. So have a great week.
Okay. And on that note, it's okay to tell someone when you're uncomfortable with the situation. But most importantly, it's okay to be vulnerable. I open up to David. This is all going to be in my book, but the reason why I don't talk about it, because I choose not to, just to avoid it. But being that I'm able to write it now, I'm able to, open up a little bit more. And just to share with you, if there's something going on, look for a professional. There's so many help out there, so much support. Please reach out and get the support you need.
Yeah.
I thank you all for watching. May God be with you all.
Take care, one and all.
You and I didn't fight.
This time.
I like that. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Take care.